Welcome back. Now, mentoring is a big part of emerging India's DNA, and our small and medium entrepreneurs were privy to exclusive mentoring sessions with the best business minds of India Inc. Now, it doesn't get any better than this. You have various businesses, and some of them are manufacturing businesses. Can you give us a few practical ideas on how you've driven innovation in those companies?
There's a whole slew of things you do, but the first thing is you have to walk the talk from the top. You have to show a commitment to this. So many years ago, when we did our first Blue Chip conference, it was a conference which was an annual gathering of the top, at that time 150 managers, which is now 500. But at that time, we set out new mantras, and we said every business, in order to remain in the portfolio over time, for our manufacturing businesses, we said 1/4 of your revenue must come from businesses, or products rather, that didn't exist 4 years ago. And we chose those words very carefully, because if you said from a new product, there's a lot of game playing that goes on. You can say I came out with a new car, but if the door handle had changed, that's new product. So what we said, a product that did not exist. It sounds very intangible, but it was very specifically said. The funny part is that in the auto sector specifically, we've actually been exceeding that goal every year. So 1 is you have to walk the talk. B is you have to set a metric. 3 is you have to measure it, which we do through a balanced scorecard method. But can I ask a question of them, if I may, Shireen? I mean, you've got 3 people who were eminently successful, and I'd hate to get out of here with no lessons for me. What is that thing that drove you to become entrepreneurs, despite all these myriad problems in the Indian economy, the sardardi that you have here? Why have you done it? How do I tap that juice if you have and energize and keep energized a large group?
Arvind, do you understand?
The answer is only one, sir, and as you have been saying, there is no clear answer to it. It is an aspiration to achieve. We want to do something. We want to prove something to ourselves. We want to achieve something in life. It boils down to that.
Coming from a manufacturing background, so we've been growing at about 30-35%, but we felt that it would take us too long if we had to grow at that pace, and internally we said we should now grow at about 80 or 90%, especially in new areas like aerospace, for instance. I thought if I could get a few tips on some do's and don'ts when you're trying to scale a business which is still small, but then you've got big vision.
So in our case, when we look at our current revenues, 55% of those revenues come from services introduced in the last 5-6 years. Each of those businesses have become more than 300 million in the period of 5 years. So we have scaled it up. So identifying the right area, putting in the right set of leaders to jumpstart that. In our case, we decided to grow organically. Probably that's what you're also doing. Then figuring out what in our existing businesses and existing business processes can you leverage.
Everyone is really pressed for time, and you have your hands full on every single day. Your professional time, how do you decide on issues that you should get yourself involved in versus what you should delegate?
I think a good leader or an entrepreneur for that matter has to find that right balance between vision and execution. So, there is no hard and fast rule about how much you should delegate and how much you should dream, but this changes with time, with events, and with the challenge on hand. So I think there are many issues at which I feel that my team just runs it on a daily basis, and what I need to do is probably just review at certain point in time. But when there is a challenge, then I sit in the room like it's like a war front, and you sit in the room with the 10 people there, and you sit throughout the night to solve a problem. So I think you have to find that which event, which part of your business, which particular segment needs that focused attention. But at the same time, you can't get so involved that you forget about dreaming, because you have to dream and then keep doing this check with realism to say, is the dream getting translated into reality or not?
My advice to SMEs now would be that forget the government, first thing. Don't worry about what government regulations are, what their definitions of SMEs are, what wherever the government is going, forget it. Build your own strength in terms of your manufacturing competitiveness, in terms of technological competitiveness, in terms of your quality, in terms of doing research and development. All of that you have to build. You can build that if you change your mindset and want to grow. Use professional management. Hire people. Concentrate on productivity. Don't try and bring costs down by hiring unskilled people, paying them a very low wage, and then getting the kind of quality and productivity which we get.
That's it from all of us here at Emerging India. Now the journey has just begun, and we promise to get back next week with yet another episode that culminates with the Power Pack making of the Emerging India Awards that have emerged as a benchmark of excellence in the SME sector. Thanks very much for watching.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.